Patrick Bet David. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. So I am not going to make you introduce yourself, because if you're listening to this podcast and you don't know who the fuck Patrick Bet David is, then you need to go Google him. So is that cool with you if I don't make you tell your story?
All good. It's even better for me.
I figured. All right. So yeah, you got your YouTube channel, Valuetainment. It's honestly one of my favorite channels ever. Amazing advice for entrepreneurs, motivation, interviews with top people. But here's the thing I'm interested in. I also know you have your financial service company, PHP agency. So I also run a company, and I have an unrelated podcasting that I'm doing here. And my question is for you that I'm very curious about is, how do you break down the time between the two? You know, which one makes you more money? Which one do you spend more time on? And how does that break down for you?
Here's how I put it. If the president of the United States has the time to be a husband, has the time to be a father, has the time to manage his businesses, has the time to tweet, has the time to read articles, has the time to talk to his team, has the time to talk to other leaders around the world, I definitely have time to run two companies. And for me, the way I look at the way the direction the world is going right now is the following. You have two brands you're building today. There are two brands you're building today. One is your business. The other one is your brand. If you're not identifying yourself with, you know, who you are and creating some kind of a content where the audience can learn about the founder behind the business, you're leaving a lot of things to chance. Because many times when I'll be sitting down doing an interview with somebody and I'm bringing them on board as an executive, they'll say, you know, it's crazy. I've been following your stuff for a while and I'm excited about working with you. Why is that? Because I totally agree with the values of how you build your company. So it's become a filtering system for anybody. I just hired an executive right now who was 22 years with AIG. He was their chief technology officer, and I brought him on board with us. And we're sitting and having a conversation together. He says, listen, I've been following your content for a while. I know exactly who you are. I know what you're doing. So in today's world, for me, I'm 41. I'm married. I got 3 kids. I run 2 businesses. I have investments. I have attorneys, investors. You have time to do it if it matters to you.
Hey, I love that. And yeah, that's great. I actually just hired an operations manager for the first time. Good. And the reason he was interested was because he saw me doing a company speech on LinkedIn. And that was the first time ever that any type of personal branding actually helped my business. So it's really cool when those two things.
That's good.
It's really cool when those two things connect. And I think you're one of the greats at it. All right. So my next question, right? It's kind of only for male entrepreneurs. And it might be a little taboo, but I love that you talk about this. And I was listening to your podcast with Omar Elatar, and you guys were discussing a point earlier in your career where you were at a low point and you decided that you had to make a lot of changes in your life. And one of the things you did was you went 17 months with no sex. Am I correct in that?
Yep.
All right. So that is crazy to me. And I'm curious that I also heard Mike Tyson did this. And then I've read the book Think and Grow Rich a million times. And the last chapter is about kind of the importance of when and when not to release your creative juices, your creative energy. How did those 17 months, how did that make you feel? Was it mental? Was it physical? And is that something that you suggest to people to try to do that? Because that's a long time, man.
Yeah, 17 months is a long time. But here's what I suggest to people. Many people's video game was sex to me, meaning guys who cannot give up video games, I was them, except for me, it was sex and women. It was that simple. So whatever that thing is to you that has full attention of yours, that's what you got to give up and see how long you can go without it. For some, it's video games. So for some, it's partying. For some, it's women. For some, it's alcohol. For some, it's weed. For some, it's other types of things that distracting you. So when I chose to do that, it was a way where I'd wake up in the morning, a girl would show up to my place. Then I'm tired, then I'm going to the office. Then lunchtime, I'm going to go meet another girl.
Okay.
Then I'm going to go run a few appointments. Then I'm going to party at night because I want a couple new girls. And just it was too much. It was too consuming. And one day I just said, I'm done. I'm not playing that game anymore.
So was it about time?
Distractions. It was way too distracting when you're handling multiple relationships, when you're in the car and you get in the call and then she's upset and another girlfriend's upset. I had no time for that. It was time. Okay. It was pulling way too much away focus from the business I was running at the time.
So is the 17 months just with other partners or in your own world or
listen, I had a lot of wet dreams. I will say I had a lot of
Okay.
Because there's 3 ways that you naturally, either you have assistants of someone's help, which is sex or other extracurricular activities,
Right.
either you're going to masturbate or you're going to go out there and have a wet dream. Well, regardless, it's coming out because
that was kind of my question.
Science. Yeah, you can't do nothing about science. So it was a way of me seeing how much I can tolerate temptation. And I cannot tell you how much confidence I had on the end. Wasn't easy, but a lot of confidence at the end of it.
Okay. Yeah, that's very insightful. So for you, it was a lot more about time. And I'm just curious, like I'm engaged, I'm getting married soon. Like, should I stop that for 17 months?
No,
Do you think?
No,
okay.
Because
it was all about your,
Yeah, no, it's very, very important. I'm glad you asked that because some people say, Pat, I'm married. Do I do this? No, not at all. Because if you stop having sex and you're married, you're going to get a divorce. You need to have that part because, but you got to drop something.
Okay.
You could say, I'm going with any kind of sweets for 17 months. No ice cream, 17 months. You know, no, there's got to be something that you are addicted to that's not good for you. You got to drop it for a time period.
Okay. So for you, that was just the one thing that you did to prove to yourself.
I was addicted and I had to stop.
You were addicted. Okay. All right. That's very insightful, actually, because I was thinking about maybe trying to stop. Now I know. Thank you.
With your wife, babe.
Thank you.
That's terrible idea.
You just made my next 17 months much better.
No, she will hate me. She'll be one of my biggest trolls if you do that.
Cool. All right. So as far as being the leader of a company, right? So one of my favorite videos I saw that you had on YouTube, which I was dying laughing, was you did an April Fool's joke to your employees. Did you trick a lot of them with that?
All the time.
So I think it's so interesting that the way you communicate with your entire company. Because a year ago, I had like 6 employees. Communication wasn't an issue. Now I have like 15 employees, and I have some employees who work a 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. shift that I don't run into, and I don't see them. And I know that you do those videos with your company, and I know you have like the Kobe Bryant and the Kevin Hart, R.I.P. Kobe, where you had like your whole company come in. What's your best advice for an entrepreneur who has a growing company on how to communicate with your company as a whole?
Now, you're the CEO and the founder, right?
I'm the CEO and the founder, yes.
And you got 15 employees. 15. Out of your 15 employees, how many of the shift works with you directly? How many of the 15?
4 people work with me directly.
Directly. And the other 11 you don't see?
They are printers, embroiderers, shippers. I do see them, but I don't interact with them on a daily basis. Like, I don't have to.
Are they vendors or are they employees?
They're employees that are literally at my office every day.
Oh, okay. These are employees. Okay, so they're all employees that you have. Okay.
Yes.
Well, you know, for me, you have to have a way of communicating. Even when during the pandemic, we did a daily Zoom with all our employees, every one of them, whether they're working from home, satellite, whatever. Everybody was doing a Zoom with us on a daily basis. And it would start in the morning, it was midday, it was end of the day. But we did this every day with everybody. With my sales guys, I did 3 of them per week with all my VPs. I did 2 of them per week with my marketing directors. And that's what they got from me on that side. Okay. Aside from that, every 2 weeks, there's a video that's made with me giving an update of where we are as a company. And that goes out all the time. And then that
every 2 weeks?
Every 2 weeks.
That's great.
By the way, this is clock. I'm talking about, you can go back 6 years I've been doing that. Every 2 weeks, a video goes out between 10 minutes to 60 minutes. That goes to everybody in the company and gives updates, initiatives, competition, contests, recognizing employees, challenging some people, challenging departments. And that goes for 10 to 60 minutes, right? And that's every 2 weeks. And people watch it, and then there's commentary, and we have a chat. Today we have our own app that we communicate through. If not, you can use your own GroupMe, and all the employees communicate with each other. But that's something we've done for years, because if you really are trying to scale a business, your team's got to see the vision of the company and where they're going. You got to be challenging, recognizing, encouraging, mentoring, advising. All of that comes together, and you have many different tools to use, but that's what I would recommend.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. I do a speech once every quarter, so 4 times a year, and maybe I should do it more. And doing it in a video, I mean, I wouldn't have to, but I mean, we have production jobs. So like pulling everyone into a room and taking an hour, I could just do it and they could listen to it in their headphones or something. So
exactly.
And you find a lot of value in that, keeping like the company's spirit alive. And yeah, I mean, I think I answered my own question. That definitely seems very important. So that's very cool. So I saw you talking about Joe Rogan recently with this huge deal on Spotify. And here's my question. How do we get Patrick Bet-David on the Joe Rogan podcast?
Oh, I have no idea. It's not. We haven't. He knows about us. I know about him. Obviously, he mentions our channel every once in a while when he's watching the content that comes up with Joe Rogan, because a lot of his friends consume the content we have with Mom, but we haven't done anything together. But you got to realize, I haven't done anything with a lot of people. I'm not somebody that, we're not one that, hey, how come you haven't been on this? How come you haven't been on that? I think for me, when I look at content creators, Joe Rogan to me is probably the best out there at what he does. Authentic, he is who he is. And you either love him or you're indifferent about him. But there's one thing for sure with Joe. Joe is Joe, and he's done I think it's something a lot of people can learn from. But I don't know. I'm sure eventually we're going to do something together.
Yeah, you got to go on there, because he doesn't have that many business people, because a lot of people don't put content out there like you. He's had Gary Vee on, but I feel like Elon Musk came on and he smoked weed and that was all about the stockholders. I don't know if Jeff Bezos would do it, but I feel like you'd be the perfect type of like capitalist entrepreneur guy to go on there. So I'm just putting that out there. But I want to say I listened to your first episode of your podcast, The Unusual Suspects, right? And it got kind of wild fast, and I loved it. I was laughing because I'm used to seeing you with a chalkboard, kind of breaking down your advice to entrepreneurs. And I turn it on, and you got two guys that I never heard before, and you were just kind of letting them talk. And right out of the gate, they got into sex, religion, God, politics, and like Trump. And my favorite line from you, I was dying laughing. It's like, you're like, guys, really? 10 minutes into the podcast, we're getting right into the meaning of God. But I was laughing, man. And I'm very excited to see where that podcast goes. Because if you would have told me that you don't have a podcast, I would have been like, yeah, he does. But I didn't really think about the fact that it wasn't technically like a podcast.
The challenge with the way I create content is it's very formatted. What the podcast allows me to do, it allows me to openly talk about my thoughts and opinions on what's going on, which a lot of content creators keep asking me about, saying, hey, Pat, I'm a Valuetainer, I follow your stuff. I want to know what you're thinking about this. And I kept having to make side videos. And I said, you know what, instead of making these side videos, if we have a podcast, I got 5-6 issues to touch. I'll be able to touch on all of them. And people can say, here's what Pat thinks about it. So it took me 4 years to start this podcast, but we're finally ready to do it. And we have it going on. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. And I like seeing you talk about like social issues and the coronavirus and the protests, but I get that fact. I completely understand the difference between, well, you got the valuetainment, but when I watched your videos over the years, they're just so value driven and informative for entrepreneurs like me that if you would have like side topicked and made it all about current events, there's like a place for each one. And I think a lot of podcasters, and I'm trying to figure out the balance, but that's great. So you have your very specific value driven content and then the side content for the current events and everything like that. But as far as giving advice to entrepreneurs, you're clearly one of the greats. And I know you're constantly having conversations with great people. Do you have anybody, as somebody who's at the top of the field, do you have anybody that you listen to on your own? Like if you're working out or if you're in the car, like, do you turn on Gary Vee or Grant Cardone, or are you just like, I could just talk to them on my own? Or what is your take on listening to those type of people?
If you go watch an interview Grant and I did 3 years ago, you would see when I said, I've never consumed your content. I said it to Grant. I don't consume his content. I can't think of the last time I consumed Gary's content. Probably the last time I consumed Gary's content was 4 or 5 years ago, because I think he's great at what he does, and his message and audience is a very niche message and audience. And you start to realize what platforms is his. I think Instagram is probably a strong note on where he's at right now with the content he's creating. I'm interested in real topics. I'm interested in issues. So anybody that's given opinions on real issues, that's what's more of my interest. So I'll go study a Bob Iger on how he acquired, all these companies.
Now Bob Iger doesn't put out a content or a podcast.
He doesn't, but if you go, if you listen to Bob Iger's audio, read his book 5 times, you will learn a ton in his method of how he bought. Let me say again what Bob Iger's done. Here's what Bob Iger's done. 43 years with ABC and Disney, okay? Bob Iger went from being a nobody to becoming the CEO of the company for 15 years. He was a 6th CEO of Disney. He bought Pixar from Steve Jobs. He bought Star Wars from George Lucas. He bought Marvel. He bought Fox from Ruben. I mean, if you look, and then he wanted to run for president, and last minute he made a decision to not run for office. Most people, I mean, you're going to pick up so much from reading that. Or Steve Schweitzerman, you look at the deals that he did with how many different leverage buyouts and how they went about buying these companies and selling them in these. That's the stuff that interests me. You read principles and value and his dealings on what he did with the business. I'm interested in things like that when it comes out to business. Now, as far as politics goes, I do have people I watch that it has to do with politics, but a lot of these entrepreneur guys are way too afraid to touch politics. They play very safe, very vanilla, very just basic. And, I don't want to offend anybody. And that's just not my style. I'm comfortable. I came to America so I can be who I am without having to worry about what others think about me. And I'm not planning on changing.
Yeah, I love your style too. And I'm curious, like you said, Gary Vee has a specific niche. Like, what do you think it is?
I think he's a very good He's a very good at giving 1 minute, 2 minute messages. And he's great at that part because Instagram does very well for him. Cardone, years ago, he and I were sitting, I think there's a video of him and I on a interview, and I'm sitting there saying, Cardone, I never knew who you were. I never followed any of your stuff. My guys introduced me to you. So I came out, I was on a Miami. I was living in an RV for 30 days, going and speaking at 16 different places. And I went from LA, Miami, New York, San Fran, back to LA. On my way to Miami, we met up. And I interviewed him. I'm like, this is a very interesting guy. I like this guy. And then from there, I went up. And in one of the conversations we had, I said, listen, I think your brand would change if you became more the real estate investor than the sales guy. And right after that, you saw a shift. This was like 4 years ago. And I said, and the video is again out there. And he said, you think so? I said, yeah, because everybody's thinking of you like a sales guy. I said, nobody remembers sales trainers. I said, but if you go on the real estate side, now you're an expert. Boom, everything shifted for him. And he had already been doing real estate for such a long time. I'm like, why am I not talking about it? You've been an expert in real estate for decades. You ought to talk about it. And he did. And that's an approach he took. But he's got his niche and Gary's got his niche.
I get that. And like, for me, I'm 31. I've been obsessed with entrepreneurship since I've been about 20, 21, 22. So for like 6 years, all I would do would be listen to entrepreneurs and listen to read Think and Grow Rich for the first time, learn all the basics. Now I'm 31. My business is doing well. I'm still motivated, but I definitely listen to less very specific advice about business because I'm in it and I kind of in it on my own. And it's kind of like nutrition where you understand the basics. You have to instill them in yourself.
So what are you studying right now?
So right now I'm studying how to manage managers. And that's a new thing for me because I just hired my first operations manager. So there's not a lot of baseline like content about that. And honestly, what's
your top line revenue? What's your top line revenue right now?
4 million last year. We're projected for 6 million this year. And the only thing holding us back is our capacity.
4 million last year, 6 million this year. And you're what, 31 years old?
Yes.
That's a good growth. What did you do year before 4 million?
2.5.
How about year before?
1
million, 2.5, 4 million, 6 million.
Yes.
So you're growing 50% to 75% every year. It's a great run rate. And what's your EBITDA? What are you keeping?
We're keeping, last year we kept like 175.
Okay.
But we put a lot back into the business.
Yeah. So your net is a small net. Your top may be a big, but your net profit's a small net. Okay.
Yes.
So for you, the one thing I would tell you is at 31, it's very easy to get cocky. Very easy to get cocky because you sound like a pretty fired up guy. You sound like a pretty confident. When's your birthday? What month's your birthday?
May 13th. I'm going to be.
So May 13th. Okay. So you sound, you're what? You're 88 or 80?
89. 89. Yep.
So you sound like a pretty confident guy, pretty cocky guy, which is very good to have those things, by the way, because if you don't make it, you're doing $4 to $6 million a year. So don't take that as a knockoff.
Right.
Not as a knock. Take it as a compliment.
Right.
But there's also a couple things that happens. When you get to a certain point, when you're making decent money, you're going to have a lot of people around you that are going to tell you how amazing you are, and you're going to make mostly the right decisions. And so when you make mostly the right decisions, it's 60, 70%. You think those other 30% of decisions are also right decisions, but they're not the right decisions, right? So you screw those things up. And again, I'm talking about personal experience about where I was at. But I realized very quickly, as much as I thought I knew what I was doing, I doubled down being a student at 31 to 39 in ways I've never. I was a better student 31 to 41 than I was 21 to 31. 10 times a better student, 31 to 41.
Now, were you a student of very specific topics or just like?
Absolutely. Like you said, managers, because you're CEO. Yes. So for somebody like you, you need to go to places of people that are around other CEOs where you're spending a week with 20 CEOs.
It's hard to get this. It's hard to get this.
It's not hard to get this.
No?
You're going to have to spend money. You're going to have to, like, you need to go to a USC CEO program and spend 20 grand. Okay. But if the students are not 20-year-olds, the students are 42-year-old CEOs. You need to go to a, Wharton Business School founder program. You need to go to a Harvard Business School owner president management program that's 50 grand. You paying your bill for 3 weeks. You need that kind of inspiration now for where you're at.
See, maybe this is the cocky side of me, but I just think like one time I had these like business people who my business was struggling, and I got these advisors, and they came in, they were like well credentialed, and they gave me this advice, and I was just like, this is not helpful.
Consultant. I'm not telling you consultant. It's a waste of time. I'm not talking consultant. Listen. If you're around me, I'm going to school you if you're around me. But watch what happened with me. I go to a program and I spend $50,000. And the guy I partnered up with, he was running the Victoria's Secret company of New Zealand and Australia. And in one of the presentations in front of 200 people, there's 165 founders. And all of us going up there presenting, I was one of them. 8 people were chosen out of the 165. I went and gave my presentation. He went and gave his presentation. He was 59 years old at the time. I was 37 years old at the time. And he has 6,000 employees reporting to him. 6 CEOs are reporting to him.
Wow.
He's worth a couple billion. I spent 3 weeks with him as a partner. Let me tell you, by the time we were done, I can't tell you how much I grew. He was soft-spoken, didn't have a lot to say, was not a consultant, but if you asked him questions and the feedback he gave, you're immediately growing. Just like yourself right now, you're at 31. You may sit with a 22-year-old and he's going to talk a big game because you watch a couple YouTube videos and he's excited and he's read 7 books and he's excited. You may look at him and say, look, I know what it feels like to be you because I remember being you. But when you get around real killers, not consultants, killers, CEOs, founders, people that were part of a startup, they will give you the kind of wisdom that's worth tens of millions of dollars.
Jeez, like I have no network to meet those people, and that's advice that I can't get on just like Googling YouTube successful advice.
But look at the fire you got. I mean, look at the fire you got. If you got this kind of fire, you need to be around the right people that help take a guy like you to the next level. Because if you have, I'm assuming you're the most successful guy out of all your siblings.
Yes.
Okay, I'm assuming you're the most successful guy amongst all your friends from high school.
Correct.
That's a bad thing.
Yeah, and I think about that a lot. Yeah, I mean,
that's not a good thing. That's a bad thing because that gets you to be privately cocky, right? So when you're around others who are sitting there and you kind of feel like a little peanut, then you really have to find out if you got the goodies to compete with the next level.
That's so interesting.
That's the next level for someone.
One time a year or two ago, I joined this like Charleston entrepreneurship group, and it was like 10, 15 business owners. We met every week. I didn't think I got anything from it, but not even that is what you're talking about. You're talking about paying money, because I like that, because that is not saying like, hey, you're actually going to be genuine friends with these people. No, pay the money, get your foot in the door, and get yourself being a peanut around kings.
And what you're going to ask for, and when you go look for these courses, they're out there for you to find.
Okay.
You have to ask, what percentage of attendees are employees? What percentage of attendees are founders? What is the qualification of those to attend this? You are looking for qualification of people that attend this, because those are the people that are going to teach you a lot. If they say there's not a qualification, it's a waste of time for you to go to. There's got to be a qualification of what they need to do to go to this course. And then you can go around those guys and you'll learn a lot. You will learn a lot. You come back thinking a whole different way.
Wow. Yeah. And just like, is the advice very specific to what you're doing, or is it more like general advice? Is that one of the advantages that you can ask specific questions of things you're dealing with?
Yeah. It's the cameras off. It's the cameras off, and you can ask the questions that you're really thinking about.
Nice.
You know, there's one thing to ask the questions you want to ask me right now, which is for the audience.
Yeah.
And then there's one thing for you to ask me the questions you really want to ask me, which is not for the audience, right?
Yeah, correct.
When you're around these types of people, and we're sitting there, we're talking, it's me, you, and 9 other guys, and you're the 10th biggest guy out of the 10 people in the room. And you ask the real questions, guys, I'm about to get married. This is my concern. What do you guys think about this? And, you know, I don't want to ask this question on video. I don't want to ask this question about my wife. I don't want to ask it for my parents. I don't want to ask around my employees. I don't want to ask around my COO. Those are the questions you need to be asking that you need direction with.
Wow. Yeah. I never thought about it. That's great advice. And these programs exist. You do stuff like that?
Yes. But I'm not pitching anything to you.
Right. I feel you.
I'm telling you, go look for it. I'm not even going to give you any advice. I want you to go look for it because if you find it, you will own it, and they're out there. Believe me, they're out there.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, like we're about to hit 5 o'clock. Covered up like one other topic I was going to go over, but go for it. All right. So we were talking about the current events and stuff. And I was going to say the thing about the difference between you and Gary Vee and the reason why I stopped listening to a lot of these entrepreneurship people and started kind of listening to you a little more lately was because you do talk about the current events. And I think it is relevant because it teaches people like how to think in times like this, and you need smart minds. Me and you have different skin colors. Do you think America's a racist country?
Do I think America's a racist country?
Yeah.
It may be the least racist country in the world.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean there's not racist.
Right.
You got to understand that.
Right.
You know, when I went in the Army, I experienced a lot of discrimination. I went to Alabama one time. We were going to Panama City. And back then I was a bodybuilder. We'd go do all these hard body contests and all this stuff. And we were going to this club called Spinnakers in Club La Vila.
Okay.
And we're going down this freeway. I think it's 65. And we're going all the way down. And we go to Alabama. We go to this Waffle House. Uh-huh. And I'm bald, you know, no hair. And we go there to order something. Yeah. And a waitress comes up to me, white girl. She's never seen anything like me before. And she freaks out. She says, "Sir, where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Iran." She says, "Where from?" I said, "I'm from Iran." "No, you're not." "Yes." She walks away. Like, what is she walking away? Now, the people I'm sitting there with, 2 white guys, a black guy, and a Latino guy, because we're gonna go party.
Right.
Then they come back. So, "Are you really from Iran?" "Yes." "We've never met your kind before." "My kind? What kind is my kind?" Yeah. "We don't have your kind over here. All we see is Iranians on TV." And they were absolutely freaking out about servicing me. Now, I obviously learned how to break the ice, and we ended up laughing about it. And I walked away. And I'd be in the military. Guys would say, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Iran." She says, "Listen, a lot of people in the unit are saying you're a spy." I said, "You know what, Jones, to be honest with you, between you and I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to tell anybody else." I said, "What?" "I am really a spy." Jones looks at me and says, "You're really a spy?" I said, "I'm a spy from Iran. I'm trying to take all the system back to Iran." I said, "I'm not American. I'm a spy." The guy freaks out, goes and tells the whole unit. And my other peers behind me are laughing because they know I'm telling this guy. I'm going to tell him I'm a spy. I played with everybody. So here's the point.
That's awesome.
I refuse to let you think you have one over me. I don't care if your parents are rich. I don't care if you're taller than me. I don't care if you're smarter than me. I don't care if you have a fancier degree than me. Psychologically, you ain't getting an edge over me. I'm just not giving that to you. And I'm going to give that to you on the Leaders Bulletin, meaning if you beat me with numbers, I salute you. Respect. Here you go. I'll even give the trophy to you if you beat me. But you're going to have to beat me. And if you decide to outwork me, out-improve me, out-strategize me, and outlast me, I think you deserve the right to have the victory of saying I beat Pat. I don't have any problem with that. You've earned the right. You've earned my respect to salute you. Conor said something after he lost to Nick Diaz the first time. He's in the back. And the guy says, "So how do you handle this?" And you can tell from the look on his face, he's not enjoying it. He's not even looking at the camera or the interview guy. He says, "Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. This is painful. I'm not liking this. Listen, I'm a big boy. I'm going to come back, but this definitely doesn't feel good. I don't like it. I don't like losing. But hats off to him. I underestimated him, and I thought I could really handle him. And the guy's got a better ground game than I do, and I got a lot of work to do, but I'm going to come back stronger." And then he does one of these, "I'm going to come back stronger," like trying to give himself this is why people love this guy. Because he just told you he didn't like losing.
Yeah.
What do you like? You know how these other people, they lose, they're like, "I'm still going to go to my family. I'm still going to go to my $18 million. I'm still going to go to my incredible life." No, you lost. We want to know what hurts. And that's what made guys like Conor special. That's what makes guys like Jordan special. Mm-hmm. Because when they lost, you felt their pain and you wanted to see that. So for me, when it comes down to America being the most racist country in the world, I think it's ludicrous to say that. And by the way, it's even more ludicrous to say that if you've never lived any other places. I lived in Iran. Not even close to the level of racism and discrimination in Iran. I came from a Christian family. I was an atheist 25 years of my life. My parents were Christians. And they would say, if in public they ask you what religion you are, you say, "Talk to my parents. I don't know." Okay? This is in Iran because they were afraid of me being captured. When's the last time you were worried about something like that? If I ask you right now, what's your religion? What's your religion?
I mean, I'm kind of an atheist in a way.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. No one's going to shoot you.
Yeah, I'm not scared to say that. Yeah,
that's the point. Who cares? But you said it. I'm a Christian today. Yeah. I said it. I don't have a problem. We can have a civil conversation together. You can't do that in Iran. In Germany,
I can't envision that.
That's the point. In Germany, I'm going around and I'm at a refugee camp as a Middle Eastern. Let me tell you, the level of discrimination I got in Germany, 10-1 compared to what I got in US, okay?
Jeez.
And then you live in US and you realize how people treat you in US. And not saying there's not pockets like it in South Dakota or South Carolina. When I lived in Colombia, right outside of South Carolina, it's got a very bad reputation. You know the history of some parts of South Carolina.
That's where I am.
It's not that's right, Charleston.
I gotta say I don't really see it though, but I understand the history.
30 years ago,
okay.
not your era right now. 30 years ago, there was some. So yeah, look, if you want to look for reasons for you and I to say we are areas that we are different, to find a way to divide you and I, we can find millions of reasons.
Right.
But I bet we can find billions of reasons where we are similar. Not millions. We're going to have more things we have in common than we differ in. And if we can focus on that and then try to come up with a solution, we'll have a much better chances of making progress than the direction we're taking right now.
Fuck yes. We're human beings and there's no reason not to love each other. And I saw your video today about the media and how they try to tear us up. And I mean, they're just trying to make money, but that is definitely not helping people, especially people who take the victim mentality. And I fucking love your answer and I appreciate it.
Much love, and it's good to be on with you.
Hey, you the man.
Hey,
thank you so much.
I want to see the story of you doing 40 million a year, 150 employees. And I talked and you tell me, Pat, let me tell you what's happened to me the last 4 years. That's the person I want to talk to next.
All right. Well, that's the next time you'll see me.
Take care, buddy. All the best.
Thank you.